The Phanteks P360A is one of my favorite budget cases of all time. It just makes me happy because it has about everything you would want for so little money. It has tremendous airflow, RGB fans, and plenty of room for building. The only thing I wish is it had more support for AIOs, like bigger AIOs, like 360mm AIOs to be exact. Well, Phanteks is back with the Eclipse G360A, and guess what? They made it even better. Phanteks has always been a company that has prided itself on quality products. The P500A, the Shift XT are all highlights of builds that I have worked on and continue to work on here on the show. Well, the Phanteks P360A, my current budget king, has been upgraded to the Phanteks Eclipse G360A, and quality is no different, with the same chassis internally as its predecessor, but with a few welcome changes. The G360A aims to be an amazing new case from one of the PC case leaders in the industry. Oh, and my new go-to choice for budget builds. Maybe. Let's see the cost first. See, the Phanteks P360A can be found these days on sale anywhere between $59.99 to $79.99, with the usual MSRP of $89.99. The G360A checks in at $99.99. Now that's not really a true budget price, but it is in line with other cases its size and with the same cooling potential. Looking at the case refresh ourselves, let's look at the outside of the G360A, which looks pretty similar to the P360A. Speaking of similar, are you wanting to like similar videos as this one? Well, don't forget to head on down to like and subscribe. That way you can see all of our new case reviews just like this and any updates on tech as soon as they come out. Okay, so back to the outside of the case. On the front I/O, it comes with two USB 3.0 ports, a mic headset jack combo port, a power button, an LED mode, and a color button as well. No USB-C port, which makes us a little sad, but I can only assume that's to keep the cost down. And we get our usual satin black or matte white for your color choices. So looking at the dimensions of the G360A, we have 455mm wide, 200mm tall, 465mm deep, which puts the case right around the P360A, so your typical mid-tower case like your Corsair 4000D. Now, one change about the look of the G360A comparing that to like the P360A is that there's an all-new redesigned front and top panel. The view through the mesh front panel has been cleared up a bit for a better view of those beautiful RGB fans. Now let's take a look at the inside of the case. So let's start with motherboards. You can do up to eATX as long as they're 280mm in width. For CPU cooler height, any CPU cooler up to 162mm in height, any GPU up to 400mm in length. The reason that there is so much more room for the GPU now is that there is a fan/AIO bracket that lets you install either at the front of the chassis, creating more room for the GPU. Yay! For PSUs, any PSU up to 220mm or 280mm with the hard drive cage removed. Even though the drive bays will fit 2.5-inch SSDs as well, there are two spots for 2.5-inch SSDs on the back. Now it's also worth mentioning that Phanteks gives you the normal goodies in the box. Unfortunately, you don't get that cool screw separator like what's inside of the Phanteks P500A, but again, it feels like a cost-saving thing, but I really like those. The moment of truth, and what really sets the Phanteks Eclipse G360A apart from the P360 is this. While keeping the same internal design, Phanteks adjusted a few things to make it possible to top mount or front mount a 360mm AIO. So that Corsair H150i Elite Capellix you have, throw it in. I mean, don't really literally throw it in, but go ahead and install it. What makes this whole thing even better though, is that Phanteks decided to include a radiator fan bracket in the front for easier installation. You now have an overall cooling capacity that has been increased to up to 7 120mm fans, all while retaining the original innards of the P360. So in front and on top, you went from 2 120mm fans in the P360 to 3 120mm fans, but you can only still do 2 120mm fans for both. Rear fan stays the same at 1 120mm. This is amazing, and we welcome this, and salute Phanteks for doing this. You can take an already amazing case and make it more amazinger. Huh? Okay, I'll be honest, I am super excited to build in this case. I'm trying to think if we've covered everything about this case before. We did the builds, we did the internals, we did the AIO. I mean, on paper, this thing looks absolutely awesome, but I do need to do a build in it first, which I haven't done, so without further ado, let's build in it. For the CPU, We're gonna be using the Core i7 12700K. For RAM, we're using the G.Skill Triton Z 3600. This is 32 gigs. For storage, we're gonna use a 1 terabyte Viper. Really excited about this motherboard. We're using the Glacier One 360 MPH. This is the EVGA 850P6 RTX 3080 Ti for the Win 3. Let's jump in and get this build built. Ooh, that was a good one. Good clicks. Okay, there we go. Okay, to be honest, it really feels like Phanteks stretched this thing to the absolute limit when it comes to cooling. And to really flex this case and to put absolutely the best cooling in, you're gonna have to do and follow a certain order of operations. Not only did I have to pre-wire the EPS CPU cable, but I also had to add the pump connection and the RGB fan headers before I actually top mounted the radiator. And then you can finally put in your rear exhaust fan. The cable management room has actually gotten smaller in this case than what you had in the P360A, and much to my personal sadness, removed the cable cutout for routing GPU cables directly below the GPU. I'll be honest, it is going to be a struggle to put 3 8-pin connectors into some of those routing holes in the case. If you're putting in any physical drives, then you're just gonna have to be really smart about your RGB strategy, specifically given that you just don't have a ton of room in the shroud. Lastly, and it's a small thing, but for $99, it would have been good to get a bit more room around the top edge of the dust filter. Obviously, the less or more budget a build comes, like air cooling or 240mm AIO, then a lot of these issues start to kind of go away. Okay, enough about the build experience, let's talk about thermals. So we had to flex our case to really ensure thermals were top notch. So we used an Intel Core i7 12700K and an EVGA RTX 3080 Ti paired with an LGA 1700 ready Phanteks Glacial 360mm AIO with the RGB halos. So absolutely the most we could fit inside of the case. First up for CPU, when in idle, no issue here. We're seeing 26 in the open and the closed case scenario. No one cares about idle. I don't idle. Okay. So under load, when we stress out this 12700K with lots of mean jokes about pins, we see things jump up to a nice and manageable 66 in the open case and a 4-degree warmer 71 in the closed case. For our EVGA RTX 3080 Ti, when at idle, we see things sitting at a nice and frosty 37 in the open case and only 41 in the closed case. So when churning up some mad gaming benchmarks, we see things pop up to 81 in the open case and an only slightly warmer 83 in the closed case. Now, direct fan air can bring it down like we saw in the DF800 Flux, which you can see the review of right here. Okay, so temps are actually better than what we expected now that we have these incredible options for cooling. So let's bring it home, Roby. I will. And don't forget, if you want details on how this thing did in gaming and want to replicate this build or even part of this build using the links down in the description below, all of those benchmarks are at the end of the video. So wrapping it all up, Phanteks tried to squeeze the absolute most cooling it could into a small space, and in doing so had to make some changes to the case that in effect change it from the P360A to this new G360A. Wow, duh, Roby. Whoa. Here's the deal. I don't really see them as the same case. And I know they're not, but given one's the successor, I actually feel like they're very different. See, given the P360 is cheaper and it still fills a void even with the G360 in there. However, what they have done to make things fit and to allow this kind of cooling in such a small space while not sacrificing too much in the way of compatibility is actually really cool. But you know what? It's not always about what I think. I'd love to know what you think. And maybe you can win a little cash in the process. First and foremost, you need to leave a quality comment down below along with liking and subscribing to the channel. Now, when I say quality comment, it doesn't need to be positive. It just needs to be something you liked or didn't like about the video or the case. What surprised you, etc. about our build or even the case in general. Just not, I deserve to win, can I have a free PC in the G360, or your toenail clippings or something else weird or lame. You also need to ensure we have a way to reach you via your YouTube profile, like your email. So put your email in your YouTube profile because we will be giving away $25 to one lucky comment below, and that's the way we notify you. And you know what? It's worldwide as long as you can accept PayPal or Venmo. Do you like the fact that you can use something this size to cool with a 360mm AIO? Do you feel this is the direction Phanteks should have gone? Which do you like more, the G360 or the P360? I'd love to know all that and more down in the comments below. Now, while you're down there, make sure you slap that subscribe button, whip that like button, and ring that notification bell so you get a notification each and every time we post a new video right here on Robeytech. Did you know we have a live stream channel for special builds and events? We will actually build in this case on that channel. So check out Robeytech Live down in the description below so you can like and subscribe and know when we actually go live with this or any other build. Do you have questions about the G360A or any other tech-related questions? Then check out our amazing Discord server at discord.gg/Robeytech. It's filled with other tech and PC enthusiasts that love to share their thoughts and ideas on these very subjects. Are you looking for cheap tech? Then check out @Robeytech.com or @RobeytechDeals on Twitter, where you can have our guy Tom scouring the internet for the best deals on all things tech from PC components to TVs. Finally, you can also follow me and my team on all the other socials at Robeytech absolutely everywhere. We hope you enjoyed this video and we look forward to seeing you on the next one.